Grade A buffoonery.
I'm not perfect, I know it, but I don't deserve this. So put me back in my cage, I swear I'll be fine. Frustration's an ocean, the pain does take its portion. Don't empty out this raft I'm in, cause I'm not sure if I can swim.
Breaker Crunchers. It is Friday night in Phoenix, Arizona. We are the Couch Crunchers. With me to my left or right, whichever way this whole thing works, is Sam, America's movie mechanic.
How's it going, Lance? You know,
got a promotion there,
our
huh?
listeners might not know this, but that is Lance's spectacular voice you're hearing in that intro. The dude has pipes. Lance, you got gold pipes. I hope you're still singing.
Yes, I am. We get together every now and then to jam out. You know, I've been playing with that group of guys for like 15 years now. And the aspirations of being rock stars have long gone away, but now it's just about having fun, man.
Yeah.
Writing some music, having fun, and writing the stuff that we like to listen to. Thanks, man. Those are nice words. Thanks, buddy.
I really like that too, man. And you really kill it. I like it.
Thanks, man. I actually, in that intro, when I was recording it, you know, it's such a head voice that I'm not used to, and I'm putting like every ounce of my energy into it. The take that we got, I passed out afterwards. Like I literally I was standing there at the mic, and that beginning thing is like really like all head noise and stuff, or head voice, and I just doubled over, dude. Like I stopped, he hit stop, and I just blacked out for like 2 seconds.
Wow, dude, that's intense. Yeah. That's an intense performance.
One would ask why I'm putting so much effort into it.
Because it's your passion.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
What is a passion without actual passion?
It's true, man. No, dude,
money where your mouth is.
We play like we're 20 years old, man. Like we're gearing up for our next show. Like my drummer Cody, he's hitting the skins and he's getting blisters and blood and stuff all over his kit and stuff. And my buddy Mike spends thousands of dollars on new equipment all the time. And like it's kind of our job, but it's just fun.
I feel it. I feel the same way about my dodgeball league. Like I'm way too old to be playing dodgeball still, but I can't put it down.
Well, now you got all those kids out of the way, so it doesn't really matter if you get hit in the nuts, right?
Right. Yeah, and honestly, the nut soreness, it passes pretty quick. What lingers is the tendonitis in the elbow from throwing the ball.
Oh yeah, I could believe that. I could believe that.
Really looking forward to the break over the summer. Maybe let that tendonitis calm down, but I'm gonna, still work out so that I don't lose the, the mileage that I've gained, the experience and the muscle memory that I've gained. So,
which is a fantastic segue to our first sponsor, BioFreeze. Nothing like their tagline, nothing like freezing those nuts. So
yeah, freeze those nuts.
Thank you. That's your sister, right?
Yeah.
Said that. Thank you. What's her name again?
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, man. So tonight we're talking about the latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was pretty good. They've been on a steady incline, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the episode and love to share my thoughts. I mean, it's just going to be the two of us, so I'm gonna just word vomit so many thoughts on you.
Well,
you're gonna be like, this is disgusting. How many words you're hitting me with?
What's his face? Max, who is here in spirit with us. He's going to try to come on a little bit later. He is home alone with the baby, so he has to get the baby to sleep before he can come on. So he will try to be here. And then Tyler is probably playing his Xbox or something. Who knows?
He's doing his VR workouts. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, his VR workouts.
He's getting in good shape. I don't know if you know this. Tyler, a big VR geek. Like, he loves VR.
Yeah,
And
didn't you go to a VR night with them?
Yeah. A few weeks ago, we went. It wasn't a night though. It was early in the day, and we did a zombie hour. It was like I guess it wasn't an hour, maybe half an hour, fighting zombies in a VR space up in Scottsdale. It was pretty fun, a little pricey. It's not something that I'd want to do every weekend because it is costly, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I was glad Tyler invited me. And he really enjoys VR adventures, but he's found himself a workout where he's doing in VR. And it's allowed him to be more competitive at dodgeball.
Your kid's coming in. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I saw him about a week ago. We had to drop some stuff off, and he was looking good, man. So it's obviously helping. I know Max went and bought one himself.
Yeah. Tyler said that he was trying to help Max get his own VR workout going and see if the two of them become VR troopers. We are VR troopers. You remember that show, VR Troopers?
Yeah.
It was old Power Ranger knockoff.
Yeah. It didn't last as long, obviously, because most people probably don't know what that is. People in our age group know what it is. But my 7 and 8 year olds watch Power Rangers. I guarantee you they are not watching VR Troopers.
Right.
But there was a ton of shows like that came out around that time. They were pretty similar. I mean, Voltron was a little bit older than that, right?
Yeah. So there were three Power Ranger shows, including the Power Rangers. There's VR Troopers, and then I don't know if you remember Beetleborgs.
Yes.
Where they were like Power Rangers, but they had Beetle theme helmets.
Were they kids?
Yeah, kids, but when they transformed, they were adults.
So then Power Rangers tried to rip that off in one of their seasons. The Blue Ranger was a kid, and then he'd morph and turn into an adult. So they just straight up ripped off Beetleborgs.
Maybe. I mean, ideas you can rip off all day. That's not, that's VR Troopers and Beetleborgs. Those are idea ripoffs. So yeah, you can do that all day long. That's not a problem. That's where you get the idea of a genre, right?
There's a fantastic episode. Have you seen that show on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us?
I only watched the Ninja Turtle episode because that's the only one I was interested in.
So they have a Power Rangers one because they've made billions off of Power Rangers merchandise to the point I think Hasbro just bought the rights for Power Rangers for like buku bucks. Like I couldn't tell you exact, but I'm pretty sure it was over $1 billion if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know. It's news to me.
But they Hasbro paid a ton of money for the rights to Power Rangers. It's crazy how many times Power Rangers has changed hands with different companies. Disney had the rights for a little while, and then they gave it back.
Nickelodeon
bought it back. Nickelodeon, yeah. Lamb and Jants. Yeah, it's kind of gone through several hands, and now Hasbro has it, and they're apparently going to reboot the whole movie universe. Even though I liked the last one. Do you remember the last one?
Yeah, I did see it. It was basically Power Rangers plus the Breakfast Club. The only problem I really had with it was that Kimberly was kind of a shady character, honestly. Not really a sympathetic character.
Yeah, but that's what's her name? Naomi Scott? Is that her name?
Yeah.
She's so hot, dude. I don't care. They could do a movie with her watching grass grow, and I'd be like, okay, sign me up. I'm gonna go see it 5 times in the movie theater.
Well, okay.
No Couch Crunchers episode is complete without me getting my horn dog out, right? So,
well, I don't care, but watching grass grow, come
on. So, dude, are you watching anything good? Because I've got a couple things I want to talk about that I love. That I just found.
I mean, nothing that I haven't already spoken about. I'm finishing off The Irregulars. That show.
My wife lost interest in that one, so I'm gonna have to watch it without her.
Yeah, I mean, it got really grotesque, lots of gore, kind of in the supernatural vein, but maybe they're trying to be a little bit more realistic. Definitely putting itself in the horror genre, but it's like teenage teeny bopper horror rather than
It seems like it would be if they took the gore down a little bit. It does seem like it would be ripe for CW, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Obviously not TV suitable because of the amount of gore that's in it, but I mean, it seems like a gorier version of Supernatural, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the one episode I remember, there was a guy that was like controlling birds, and
that's the first episode. That's the very first episode.
Oh, is that the first one?
Yeah.
These birds were like stealing babies because he was looking for his baby that died or something like that, and that's like straight out of a Supernatural episode, dude. Like that's the kind of stuff that they would do in Supernatural.
Yeah.
So if Kyle's listening, Kyle would love this show, I think. I don't know. It doesn't have Dean or Sam in it, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. And then another thing that I wanted to bring up that I'm not watching that I wish I was is Superman and Lois, but they ran 5 episodes and then they're going to take a break until May. It's like, wow, that's short. Like, why are we taking so long?
It's my understanding it has to do with Corona.
Yeah, I imagine that's the case, that they probably filmed those episodes early in the year. They had a delayed release, but then it got slowed down in the production. But it is, I mean, I really like that show. I'll probably end up rewatching the first 5 episodes again. They really, really good story. Like the production quality is it's not out of bounds. It's not like it's knocking anything out of the park. Certainly not on the level.
It is exceptionally better than the other DC CW shows, though, I would say.
I mean, I disagree. I think it's on par with them. Like the suit that he wears is padded. It's not like he puts in hours at the gym.
Oh yeah, from that aspect. But like I remember that scene where his wife pushes the button, right, to call for help. She's getting beat up by that 7-foot tall dude. And he comes rushing through the wall, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. No, and not to knock it, but it's a good show. But what I really enjoy is the story. Right? It's a good relationship dynamic. The family dynamic is very interesting. Albeit a little bit melodramatic with the teenage angst.
Well, it's
every episode, but other than that, I really enjoy it. I really like what's going on with Clark, with Lois, with their family dynamic. There's this mysterious kind of futuristic guy who's coming in and he's dropping these big hits and he's spreading rumors about Clark to his allies, and it's got all these little juicy bits that are working together. So I do really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward for it to come back.
Tell me if you agree with me. It does feel like a grittier continuation of Smallville, does it not? Like kind of the same compared to the other Superman properties that we've gotten, like Krypton and Lois and Clark, where Lois and Clark is very bubbly and everything. It feels that they're kind of trying to go for the same feeling that the last few seasons of Smallville gave us.
They are clearly going for that because they took the setting of the story back to Smallville. Now, as far as gritty, I see where you're coming from because they have this weird kind of like brown filter over
like
all
a
the
sepia
shots.
Tone almost.
Yeah. And I'm not, I don't think Superman ever needs to be gritty. I don't think the sepia tone is conducive, and maybe there's a point to it at some time where they're going to kind of pull that back and you get to see Superman in all his brightness and all his glory. But I feel like that's kind of a cheap trick. I didn't like it in Man of Steel. I don't like it in the Zack Snyder movies. But I don't really like it in Superman and Lois. I feel like it's just
not
just kind of brings the mood down.
Movies though. I don't think it's as bad as the Snyder movies. The Snyder movies looks like wet concrete. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
Oh, sure.
His suit looks gray and the reds look like blood. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of, it's very I don't know. My Superman's always bright colors and bright blues and bright red underwear. You know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Superman, I just rewatched Superman the animated series, and I don't think that show gets enough love, dude. It is very good.
Well, that's because it's going to always be compared to Batman the animated series, which is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm rewatching that one right now. Thank you, HBO Max, for making all those available. But dude, Superman's good, dude. Like I found myself like I play it while I'm working, right? Because I work on a lot of spreadsheets and stuff like that. I'll just hit play, and it's very rare that I put something on like that in the background to where if I lose track of what I'm watching, I'll rewind it. You know, specifically something I've seen before, you know, but I rewound it just to like catch a line or something like that. The writing is very good for a cartoon. And the music, dude, is so cinematic. And it's the same with Batman. Like they put every dime that they could into making the music like as cinematic as possible.
Yeah. I mean,
Fight
the
scenes,
opening,
you're hearing violins and
sure. The opening theme of Batman the animated series is straight from the 89 that, you know, Danny Elfman composed 89 Batman theme.
Oh, is it the same?
Right? It's the same one.
Yeah.
But they make it, they do adapt it to the animated series. It comes in, you know, real low and then it grows real big, and you know, they time all the explosions with it, but it's awesome. I love Batman the animated series. I don't love Superman the animated series quite as much. But it is a very high quality. You're right. But then they also have Batman Superman Adventures where they kind of tag team a lot.
Is that's a show?
Yeah.
I remember they had Justice League. I watched that one.
Yeah, Batman Superman Adventures was like the sequel series to both of those series.
Yeah, because they only went for 3 seasons. I was surprised to see that.
And it wasn't long. It wasn't a long running series. It was probably one season. But they had some tag team adventures that were pretty good. Yeah.
One of my favorites is Batman Beyond, dude. I love Batman Beyond.
Yeah, that was a very good show. I started out, feeling kind of reluctant, but it turned it around pretty quick. I thought it was really good. Oh, you know what that reminds me? That show Invincible. I've still been following Invincible. The new episode.
Yeah, I watched the last episode today. What was it? Episode 5 or something like that?
I haven't seen episode 5 yet. I'll probably catch it this weekend, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Invincible. All the gore stuff it doesn't resonate with me at all. Like it's not shocking to me. I just kind of feel like it's ridiculous. But the story's pretty good.
It is more adult driven. I have one concern with it though, is sometimes the voice acting seems to not inflect the correct emotion. Specifically Steve Yeun, what I've noticed, and I love Steve Yeun from The Walking Dead fame.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And J.K. Simmons, like just all the voice acting, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
which is surprising.
And maybe there's a reason for that in the story. Maybe they're supposed to be detached and kind of out of touch. I don't notice it with Steve Yeun at all, honestly. But J.K. Simmons' character seems really just kind of in his own headspace. Like the rest of the world isn't there. Like he's just.
I think it's funny that he's essentially old Superman with a mustache.
Right.
With obviously the show goes into some demons that he has and stuff like that, but they're like, oh, he looks too much like Superman. Throw a big cop mustache on him. That'll do it.
Let's get Magnum PI in a cape.
Right. Yeah. Next time you're watching it, listen to how they deliver a line. And sometimes it seems a little off. Like when he's asking a question, like it's not really framed as a question. It's kind of weird. it catches me off guard sometimes, but pay attention to that next time you watch it and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Dude, I'm watching this show that you need to watch. It has to be one of the funniest shows that I've seen in a long time, and it's called Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
And it's on Peacock. The 7th episode got released today. All the episodes aired on Sci-Fi previously, so there's 10 episodes this season. Just got renewed for a second season. And dude, we watched the first episode, and it was that line that I sent you in the text messages, the douchebag line. It was so funny that I get up, go to my room, and I look up that specific scene after I just saw it on YouTube. And I watched it like 3 times, and it still was making me laugh out of my seat.
I've been watching this for 5 hours. It's beautiful.
Dude, it is so funny. And Alan Tudyk, he is so underrated how good of a performer he is. You know what I mean? Like, he usually is playing like the side characters, like in all the animated movies that he does. He's never really the main character. This kind of gives him the chance to be the main, like he's the title character, right? He is the resident alien. And he shines, dude. Like, it is so good. You need to watch it.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Episodes 6 through 7 are on my Plex account, by the way. Or 6 through 10. But the rest of it's on Peacock. And then the other one that I've been watching and now said, Debris, that's also on Peacock, which is very much like Fringe. These cops or these FBI agents are going around. This spaceship like crashed in the atmosphere, and it dropped debris all over the world. And this debris is causing supernatural elements, sci-fi elements, I guess you could say. And it's very much like Fringe. Like, it almost feels like a direct ripoff of Fringe, but it's very good. Are you a Fringe fan? Did you watch that show?
So I did not get all the way through Fringe. I got about 3 episodes in, and my wife was like, "This is too sci-fi." She wasn't a big fan of sci-fi back then. I mean, she's more of a fantasy. She's more into fantasy romance. You know, the Twilights and the 50 Shades and she likes that stuff.
She likes things that are not good. I'm just kidding. Actually, your wife is a huge Rocky Balboa fan, so I don't want to.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to step on her toes too much because Rocky Balboa is like one of my favorite things ever. So she does like things that are good, but the two examples that you gave, not good.
I mean, you know, everyone has their guilty pleasure, and it's not something she would probably want broadcast to a large audience, but.
Well, she's not there, so she's not watching us
right
now.
Here. It's not going to smack me immediately. She'll wait till Sunday when she gets home.
You should give Fringe another chance, dude, because it's one of my favorite shows. J.J. Abrams, I think, produced it or created it or something. He has something to do with it, but Fringe is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I like shows that deal with like time travel and paradoxes and stuff like that. Determinism versus non-determinism. Yeah. And I know it does delve into those themes in the later seasons.
Yeah, it's very good, man. Like Anna Torv, Josh Jackson, and I cannot remember the old guy's name, but he's the best part.
He's the steward of Gondor.
Yes. Yeah, he's the best part of that show, dude, because he kind of has like a little bit of like a dementia type issue going on.
As long as he's not eating tomatoes, whatever, it's fine.
Well, that brings us into our main topic of the night, which is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4, review and reaction. And I put this, so I made this before the episode came out, and I was really hoping they were going to dive a little bit deeper into the X-Men stuff, which is why Wolverine is sitting right here, because kind of wanted that to be part of the conversation. I have not given it my second viewing yet, so I'm hoping that maybe you can give me some things to look for in my second viewing. But the consensus from our text message thread, because we text more than 4 grown men probably should with each other. The consensus is very good, right? We all enjoyed it.
Oh
for the
yeah.
most part.
This was okay. So episode 2 was a low point for me. Episode 4 so far is the highest point for me. I
Well, 3
really
was pretty
enjoyed
good,
this.
too.
Yeah, this was so much better than 3.
Oh yeah, especially some of the shocking things that happened into it, which we'll dive into. And I probably should change.
Yeah, let's change the ticker at the bottom. The Chiron.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So,
spoilers.
We'll get. Oh, should I put spoilers in there?
Yeah. Oh, hey, Max. Nice of you to join us in the chat.
Oh, is he there?
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, he's here. Dude, I was trying to hang on as long as I could before we got into this Falcon and the Winter Soldier discussion. Because I know you said specifically, I hope I get my kid to sleep so I can come on.
You just have to say Max's name 3 times and then he appears.
And please make sure you're coming through your microphone.
Oh, am I sounding like crap?
It's sounding a little away.
No, I'm right next to my microphone.
Oh, did you do something just now?
No.
Well, you sound better.
I clicked on the settings.
Warm up. Is it a tube? Is it a tube mic? The runoff tubes. That's the one thing, dude. Like in the band, we were talking about the band earlier, Max, for
reasons.
The intro we played. Yeah. And when we all play, my bassist has solid state, my other guitar player has solid state, my drummer's ready to go. And then me, it takes like 5 minutes for my amp to warm up because those tubes inside have to get like red hot for it to work. And so they're all jamming, and I don't even know if I'm like working yet, you know?
You're still. Is it on? Is it on?
Yeah, well, I know those tubes.
Hum.
Those tubes put out some amazing sound, but you got to wait for it.
Yeah, and then moving that amp is you got to be very delicate because you shatter one of those tubes, and it's not cheap to replace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just talking with Sam. So the consensus from our group chat is very good episode.
Yes, sir.
You, Sam, and Tyler didn't particularly care for episode 2. I didn't not like it, but it was just kind of neutral for me.
Yeah.
No, I do want to bring up this stat. I saw this is very interesting to me today. But there are companies, the streaming companies can track when you stop watching a show, right? Because it's all digital, and they'll hold your place so you can pick up the episode where you put it down. But they track when people turn episodes off. And episode 2, 83% of the people who are watching episode 2 turned it off at the exact same time. Exact same timestamp. And it's when, it's when Falcon and Winter Soldier are walking out of Isaiah's house and they're fighting, and then the cops show up, and it gets turned off right after that moment.
It's just, here's my thing with that, because I do believe that there's an issue in this country. But it's shoved down our throats so often that when you're watching a Marvel show, you just don't really, you're kind of trying to watch a Marvel show to separate yourself from that. And I get that they're trying to deal with real events, but it's part of the reason why Supergirl is not moving on past this season, because I think everybody tuned that one out as well. There's a point where you have to disconnect from the world around you, and shows like that don't allow you to do it.
Well, I'm hoping that there's a story point to it, because I feel like, I've mentioned this a couple times, but WandaVision is about grief, and Falcon Winter Soldier is about bias and
very much so.
And being surprised, right? Being surprised by, or having your bias subverted. Surprised by the people that you believe to be one way and they act another. And so as I look at it through that lens, how is my bias being challenged? How is my expectation being subverted? Not from the story points, but from the character's choices.
Yeah.
Right. and I am always pleasantly surprised, primarily by Zemo. Zemo is like coming out, and he's making his case for the strongest character in the show.
Zemo's awesome.
Well, he's a fantastic actor too. So I think that has a lot to do with the casting, because that guy's been in a few things, and his name escapes me right now.
Daniel Bruhl.
Yes, I was going to say it's something German, right? Doesn't he have the 2 dots over his over the U in his name?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's called
So he's a fantastic actor, but what I gotta say is I love him, but dude, Bucky Rogers has been fantastic so far this season.
Bucky Rogers,
Bucky,
James Barnes, Bucky Barnes,
Bucky Barnes. Thank you. I mixed Steve Rogers and James Buchanan together. Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. The scene he had in this episode where he's
the opening
flashback.
Scene?
It's amazing. A flashback. Yeah, and he's crying on that log as she reads those words that are supposed to elicit mind control, and he's crying, dude. It was moving. It
was very moving. It set the stage. That scene happened, and I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm ready for a great episode, and it didn't disappoint. It was a great episode. So yeah, we'll see. Sam, I do think that there was definitely story significance to that moment you're talking about when the cops show up. I mean, they've made references already several times this season. It's one of the themes about people who are displaced and don't feel like they belong. I mean,
we kind of knew that
Sarah,
too, right?
Sarah, Sam's sister, specifically talks about how
she doesn't care. I have a sister named Sarah too.
Her name's Sarah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. She specifically in this episode, when asked by Carly, who did you want to be Captain America? She says, my country doesn't care about my world, so I don't care about their mascot. So there's definitely a theme. I do think that it's got story significance for sure. But it is tough, like, to strike the balance between giving us real world things for story and then it feeling less like a TV show and more like you're watching the news. That's where I struggle.
Yeah, I don't want my fantasy shows to get too preachy, right? Even if my views align with them, because some of these things that are happening in the show, I do agree with some of it, right? To an extent. But if this show was just beat for beat all of my views, I still wouldn't like it, right?
Yeah,
because it comes off too preachy.
Well, I really agree with what Carly and her team are trying to achieve. Definitely don't agree with the means, but I think they're extremely naive to think that you're going to have a world with no borders where everyone is just hunky-dory, happy, loving. It's not real life. I just feel like Carly and her team are very naive.
Millennial.
But I mean, I'm a millennial, so sure.
Late millennial.
I think you're a late millennial. I'm actually right in the middle.
No, I'm an early millennial.
Is that what that means? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're younger than all of us, Max. What are you even talking about?
Well, I meant late in the sense that like you're at the tail end of being a millennial, but anyway.
I'm like 2 years into the millennial. It's like 83. I was born in 85.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like you've got a bunch of characters and you could do a character study on each of them. And what's interesting is to see two of them come together, exchange their ideas, see where they line up and see where they differ. And then a fight breaks out, right? And then it forces those two apart. And then two more come in and they have basically the same exchange. And then there was a really interesting scene where it's basically John Walker and Falcon. Falcon's in the other room with Carly, but you've got Winter Soldier, John Walker, and Zemo kind of talking things through, right? And they're kind of working things out and trying to figure out what's the right move. And that's a really interesting dynamic between them, right? Because there's more trust between Winter Soldier and Zemo than there is between John Walker and Falcon, right?
Yeah.
John Walker doesn't trust Falcon to get the job done. He gave him 10 minutes and he won't even wait the 10 minutes because he doesn't trust him. And you have Winter Soldier and Zemo, and Winter Soldier says, the Wakandans want you, but I've bought us some time, right? He didn't have to tell him that. He didn't have to tell him that the Wakandans were after him, but he did, right? Because that builds trust. You got to trust your team. And in that moment, Winter Soldier, Falcon, and Zemo are a team, and they need to rely on each other.
Yeah, I liked that when he told them, because my first thought when he walked back in is he's not going to say anything. And then it's going to cause some drama later when they show up. And Sam's going to be like, why didn't you say anything? And
show would, right?
Yeah, and so that's why I'm glad that it didn't do that.
Route. Yeah.
Subverted expectations. I thought that was great.
It's interesting because you can see the difference. Like Winter Soldier helps Baron Zemo get out of jail because it's for the greater good, right? Baron Zemo being out of jail, nobody wants that, but it's for the greater good. John Walker, all he is the company line, right? He's a criminal. He needs to go. Like, there's no greater good there. So you can see how he may not fit the mantle of Captain America, right? Because Captain America was all about the greater good, right?
See, I don't know that that's the case. I feel like they went to Zemo not because it was the greater good, it's because they had no other choice.
Their backs up were against it.
There was no other choice.
Their backs were against the dead-beating horse.
Let's not mix metaphors. But at the same time, as soon as they let him out, they were like, okay, this is our play, and we're going to play it 100%. This is our team, right? We may not like Zemo as a person. He's done us wrong in the past, but in order for this team to function, we've got to operate in 100% honesty. And that's something that I wasn't expecting. Sam and Bucky and Zemo are all 100% honest with each other about what they're after, what they're doing, and what they offer. Right? And it allows them to make great decisions together. And Supernatural would always do this with Dean and Castiel and Crowley. And it was kind of this love triangle between the three of them. No. I mean Dean, because Castiel loves Dean, Crowley loves Dean, but Castiel and Crowley hate each other. Right? Yeah. They can't stand each other. Sam is there to kind of talk Dean through this love triangle, but Sam really isn't part of that love triangle. It's really the Dean, Castiel, and Crowley show, and them trying to figure that relationship out. And it seemed like they could never be 100% honest with each other because they all lacked trust with each other. And so as soon as the lie would be exposed, then the team would fall apart. And it's really, really interesting to see these three characters interact with each other in a way that they have to, but they're 100% open and honest. And it's like, it allows them to make some really, really, really interesting choices.
I agree with that. Yeah, Supernatural did that a lot. I'm just now realizing after you've kind of explained, because in the later seasons, they introduced a character named Jack, who turned out was kind of like their brother. But Sam loved Jack, Dean loved Sam, and Jack loved Dean, but Dean did not. You know what I mean? So it kind of causes this rift all the time. I just realized that Winter Soldier's following the same beat a little bit, right?
Well, they're doing it way better, in my opinion. Like the Supernatural way you do.
Nobody does it better than Supernatural.
Well, that's not true. I mean, but you do the Supernatural way when you have 15 seasons that you got to stretch out, right? You're trying to fill lots of seasons.
Yeah.
But their Falcon Winter Soldier is a 6-episode miniseries. It's tight. And they have something specific that they're trying to say and that they're trying to accomplish.
I don't think it's a miniseries. I think they announced the season 2 is coming out.
Maybe they are, but it's only 6 episodes long, season 1. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty short. We only have 2 episodes left, right? Yeah.
That's right. And so because it's so tight and it's so focused, what you get is movie-like focus, but series-like exploration. So we can actually spend some time with these characters. And what we're getting right now is this really kind of in-depth look at the philosophies driving not Sam, really. We're not really. Sam's kind of the guy who we're seeing the world through right now. And Bucky too, right? Sam and Bucky are kind of our lens into the world. But Zemo and Carly and John Walker are the 3 that we're really examining in depth right now. And then Sam and Bucky have to make choices based on how they relate to those 3 characters.
It does seem to be focusing a little bit on Bucky, though. Like I think it's trying to fill his backstory a little bit. Doesn't it feel that way? Like, I feel like Sam has been kind of a footnote in this whole thing. We're getting a lot of flashbacks with Bucky. We're getting a lot of his view into his like emotional psyche and stuff. It does feel like the Bucky show.
I don't get that. I feel like he's a very interesting character, and he's got a lot of guilt, and he's got a lot of emotion to plumb into. But I like the Sam and Carly scene in this episode where Sam is sitting there trying to understand, just basically come to an understanding with Carly about what she's about. And Sam is definitely younger, and he doesn't have as much baggage
Wisdom.
to explore. I'm not going to say wisdom, but baggage, because he definitely makes a lot of good choices, that take them in good directions. But I'm just saying that
go ahead.
They are. So we're watching them kind of form who they are over the course of this series. They're going to make a decision eventually that's going to result in the ultimate outcome. And right now they're kind of debating with the other characters, or rather the other characters are debating each other through them. And Sam and Bucky are going to have to make it. If I were writing the show, Sam and Bucky would eventually come to different views of the world, and then they will have to debate amongst themselves about what's the right call, kind of like they did at the beginning of the adventure when they're sitting in the jail cell talking to the therapist, and then they're going to have to finish that conversation in earnest at the end, right about the time of the climax of the show. And then something is going to result in the climax out of that discussion. And it's all going to be about this notion of bias and the subversion of bias. And I think I'll spell out my speculations a little bit later, but I think it's going to revolve around Sharon Carter. I think that's what the decision is going to be made.
Yeah, because she's often, she's billed at top credit, right? Like her, Anthony Mackie, Zemo, and Bucky, Sebastian Stan. Those 4 are kind of billed top credit, right? But she's been conspicuously missing for large portions. I mean, she wasn't even debuted until the last episode, right? Episode 3. We didn't even see her in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
And this one, we get a very brief phone call with her.
But she's surrounded by tech and by big men with guns doing weird things. And
I don't think she's the power broker. I mean, she could be.
Okay, well, you're getting ahead of it. You're like, that's the speculation.
Oh, I thought that's where you were leading.
I was getting ready to go there, but I hadn't dropped that bomb yet. But there's this mysterious character in Madripoor, which is the city that you were referring to with the Wolverine reference, right?
Yeah.
The city called Madripoor, and Madripoor's underworld is run by the shadowy figure called the Power Broker. And everyone keeps referring to the power broker as a he, creating this bias, right? Creates a bias, and that bias is going to be subverted. It's not going to be a he, and it's not going to be a bad guy. It's going to be Sharon Carter. That's my opinion. And yeah, I could see an argument against it, but I don't think there's a better way to go than make Sharon Carter the power broker. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say against that.
I have no theories as to who the power broker could be. I mean, it is kind of eyebrow raising. She lives in this city. She was a war criminal, essentially, because the U.S. wants her. Like, she's wanted. She goes here because they don't, right? And she's sitting in like a mansion, it looks like, with all this
Art,
art and all these things there. She's created a better life for herself in Madripoor than she had in the U.S., right? Because the U.S., she was just an guy. She lived in an apartment next to Steve Rogers. She didn't have the status that she has in Madripoor. So I can see your argument, and it does make a lot of sense. But my only fear is that the power broker, they reveal that she is the power broker and she's evil, and I don't think I'll like that very much.
Well, that's the other thing that we kind of touched on in our text conversation before the show, is that there hasn't really been a pure good, pure evil character so far in the show, except for maybe Sam Wilson. And
evil?
No, he's pure good. Right now, he's pure good.
Yeah.
And then you have Bucky, who is a complex figure because he's done a lot of bad things that he remembers and that he regrets, but that he didn't have any control over. So he has guilt for things that he couldn't stop himself from doing, right?
Yeah.
And that makes him a very complex hero. And then you've got John Walker, who took a very dark turn in this episode, and now he's got some big consequences headed his way. You've got Carly Morgenthau, who's the de facto villain for the time being, who is in the midst of doing bad things for good reasons, right? She wants to help people, but she's decided that she has to kill people in order to accomplish the mission that she set out for herself. And then you have Zemo, who in the past has done a lot of bad things for what he considers to be good reasons. And right now he's doing things for his own reasons. But he seems to be doing good things for bad reasons. And so there's a lot of complexity going on with those three characters. And Sam and Bucky are eventually going to have to figure out where they lie on this spectrum. Are they going to do what's expedient in the moment, or are they going to stick with kind of an overarching morality that transcends whatever's expedient in the moment? And that's why I think it's going to be around Sharon Carter, because she's also going to end up being more complex than just being evil, right? She was forced into the role of the power broker. In my speculation, I think she was forced into the role of being a power broker because she was stranded in Madripoor. She didn't have anywhere else to go. If she didn't take over the role of power broker, she was going to be killed, and the underworld was going to be out of control. And so she probably said, look, it's better that I'm the power broker than somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see holes in the argument, but then I saw holes in the Agatha thing, and she was Agatha. So who knows? The biggest hole that I see in the theory that it's Sharon Carter, is that Sharon on this episode is talking about how you took the golden goose away, and so now he has to come after Carly, and she was right there basically protecting, like she was helping them get to the golden goose, if you will. I don't know. If she's the power broker, she's making some pretty poor decisions, in my opinion. She's basically helping people to destroy the serum but the power broker's whole goal is to get the serum. So
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
I could see that
who did
too.
Yeah, I could see that, but who did she tell? I mean, what is she telling them? She's saying John Walker is moving to you. Right? That's all she said. And she just doesn't want John Walker to get the serum.
Yeah.
Well, she
But
kind of
Carly
has
is also getting messages from the power broker basically saying, I'm going to kill you because I want the serum back. So that's kind of where I'm getting some of that as well, is that's what the power broker wants. Now, whether that's Sharon or not, that's the question. And I don't think it is.
I think they're doing a good job of here's what they're showing you, but there's something else going on behind the scene, right?
Yeah.
They only show Sharon interact with the main characters. They don't show what she's doing behind the scenes. Even when they were at the shipping containers, as soon as she stepped away from Sam and Bucky, they didn't follow her. What she was up to was a mystery to us. We don't know what she was doing there.
Yeah. I just think it's weird. Like, she wanted the serum, right? She takes Sam and Bucky to the storage units in the last episode where she knows that the guy that created the serum is, and just kind of allows them to interfere with that whole process. It seems
She doesn't know that Zemo's going to kill the guy.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
but she does take
She doesn't
Zemo.
know Zemo's motivations, right? We're assuming that she knows everything about Zemo.
Well, she was in the FBI during the whole Civil
CIA.
War thing. Like, or CIA, yeah. She would know to some extent, like, who he is, right? She wouldn't take somebody that was so anti-Captain America and all these things to the guy that's creating the serum.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm with you.
I feel like she's got motivations that we don't understand yet.
I do
I
agree with that.
comment. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that comment. But there are a couple things that are eyebrow raising, right?
And what are those motivations? Does she want to go back home? Does she like being the power broker?
It could be that she works for the power broker.
I think she's trying to take the power broker down. That's what I think.
But I do want to know how she got all that money and stuff to live the way she's living.
Yeah, she's an actual broker.
True.
She brokers art deals.
She is a powerful broker, but is she the power broker?
I feel like they've done everything they could to point a finger at Sharon.
Yeah.
And at the same time, because it could be a red herring, but I feel like
it could be a fart joke.
It's the bias, right? It's the bias that we all have.
They're going to upgrade it to a shart joke this time. That's what's going to happen.
Well, before it was a boner joke.
It was a boner joke.
Dang it, not a fart joke. All right. Then I don't know how you upgrade to a boner joke.
If you really want to be original, first one boner, now it's fart.
Yeah, there you go.
I
don't know.
The power farter is
Sharon Farter.
Secret code name.
So there's a few
Sharon
things I want.
Farter.
There's a few things I want to talk about from this episode because there's a lot that happened and it was very entertaining. All right. But one of the things I want to talk about, and I was going to get both of your takes, but Lance has to step away to poop or something. I don't know. I was really curious what you thought when Zemo was confronting Carly near the end of the episode and the serum was all over the ground. Did you think that he was potentially going to take it? Or did you always know, no, this man hates the serum. There's no way he's going to take it. Because for me, there was a little bit of doubt in my mind. I'm like, he looks like he might want to take that, but he hates super soldiers. So is he thinking he's going to join them to take them down? Or I don't know. Did you have any
No,
mixed feelings during that moment?
Take it.
I did. I did. I looked at that and I was like, he has said that he hates these things. Will he become something that he hates? And then we start stomping them. I was like, okay, so he's consistent in his morality. Yeah. And that's an important thing, or that's an important choice that demonstrates how strong he is in his convictions.
Yeah.
The way he carries himself, the way he carries himself so cocky in everything he does, really. Like, he's so sure in every decision that he makes, in everything he does, that in his mind, he probably doesn't think that he needs to take the serum to do his what?
We're doing his dance.
It's the Zemo dance.
So, do you know what I mean? Like he seems
Absolutely.
so egotistical
Well,
that he probably doesn't believe that he needs to take that stuff to achieve his goal.
Well, I don't know if egotistical is how I would necessarily describe it, but I do find it interesting how earlier in the episode he was asking, unless I'm wrong and it was someone else asking, but yeah, no, it was him. He asked Sam, if you had the opportunity to take the serum, would you? And Sam, no hesitation, no. But
he was gauging who he was.
Yeah, absolutely. But Zemo, when confronted with the opportunity to take the serum, he hesitated a little bit. Like, yeah, he didn't take it, but like there was a moment of hesitation where he looked at it and thought about what he was going to do. And that's the moment that I really liked, where it put a little seed of doubt in my mind for a moment. Now, where I had zero doubt was the moment John Walker walked into the room and threw the shield at Carly's head. I was like, okay, there's a vial left. John is taking it. And then that's what happened. Like, there was no doubt. Of course.
It wasn't at Carly's head. It was Zemo's head.
Zemo's head. My bad. That's right.
Which do you think by the end of the episode he already took it?
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Out of that. Oh, we're getting into spoilers now. He jumps out of that window. Wouldn't there be like a?
He takes it.
There was indication that he had taken it before.
So he goes into the building with Lamar, the Battlestar, right? He goes into the building with Lamar, chasing after Carly's team, and he and Lamar get split up. And then Lamar gets taken, right? As soon as Lamar gets taken, that's when he takes the serum.
But he takes it off screen, right? I never saw him.
It happens off screen, but then when he comes in and Sam is fighting with one of those guys, John Walker flies in and he's all of a sudden bending fence posts around things with his bare hands. Like, okay, yeah, he took the serum.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what bad guy do you think he's going to turn into?
I don't know what he's usually in the comics.
In the comic, this is totally consistent with his representation in the comics, is that he was overly violent. And so Steve Rogers comes back from hiding and takes the shield away from him.
Nice, which I don't think is going to happen here. But I know that John Walker is typically a bad guy in the comics. And they're definitely staying consistent with that. But here's one of the things I find interesting. Lamar earlier in the episode talks about how John has 3 medals of honor because he makes such great decisions in the heat of the moment. And I'm thinking to myself, this entire show, I've seen nothing but John Walker make bad decisions in the heat of battle. He is very rash and violent, and he doesn't think things through. He just jumps in.
Okay.
So it's ironic that he got medals for making good decisions when the reality is maybe he made a good decision once, but he doesn't usually.
So here's the thing is that when he's not under scrutiny, when he's not under public scrutiny, it was probably a lot easier for him to make those decisions.
That's fair.
But when he put on the Cap costume and the Cap helmet and he's holding the shield, suddenly he's second guessing everything he does. And so his morality is challenged, and he doesn't know if he can stay true to it. And that's what we see. We see a lot of his insecurities bubbling up to the surface. He's afraid that a choice that he's made has cost the life of one of his teammates. That's another big spoiler, but
he's got a lot of ego and he's got a lot of confidence issues. He doesn't feel good enough because there's super soldiers out there. And then he gets his butt kicked by the Dora Naji, or however you say it. And he's like, they're not even super soldiers. And he's like defeated because of that. And at that point, from what I recall, story timeline wise, he already had the serum. And so at that point, it's like, he's definitely taking it, which I already knew he was going to no matter what. But yeah, he's got a lot of self-doubt, and he's not confident in himself. And he's got so much freaking ego. Like, I think it was the previous episode when he's interrogating that guy and he says, do you know who I am? I'm like, whoa. My wife, when she was watching it with me, was like, that's not Captain America. What
Well,
was
like
that?
instantly, that line is spouted by every actor or actress that gets pulled over for like a DUI or something like that, and we instantly hate those people. Like I remember Reese Witherspoon, she got a DUI, and they got her on tape saying, "Do you know who I am?" You instantly hate that person, right? When they
Like, I
when
don't
they
care who
use
you
that,
are. You're not above the law.
yeah, you instantly hate that person. So at that point, when he spouted that, I was like, "Oh, this is a bad guy. He's really bad. He's not just a
Yeah.
little bad, and I don't like him. Like he's just bad." But let's
I
talk
love the
about
character though. I like watching him. And from the first time they showed his face when he looked like a goob to now he actually looks, I think, like a bad A in the suit. Like he looks kind of cool and strong and everything. But the
And you know
first time
what's
they showed him
ironic?
off, he looked horrible.
Yeah, you know what's ironic about that line? Do you know who I am? Is that does he know who he is? Right? He's asking, he's angry, and he's saying that question in that way because he doesn't know who he is himself.
Yeah.
And so when he says, "Do you know who I am?" maybe he wants a real answer. Maybe he's trying to figure out who he is and he needs a real answer. Because I feel like once he put on the suit, he lost himself. He started second guessing himself. He doesn't know who he is anymore. And by taking the serum, it just got worse. Right? He doesn't trust
it
his
amplifies. Doesn't it say in the first Captain America that it amplifies like their
personality.
Yeah, so good becomes better and
personality
bad
and
becomes
stuff.
worse.
So
And
if
that's
he had
exactly
this-
what's going on.
yeah, if he has this doubt and all these things, it would just amplify that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Captain America or Steve Rogers became better.
Yeah,
took
and I saw just a real quick like meme about that, and it was Erskine. Remember the scientist played by Stanley Tucci who develops the serum, and he says the reason why you were chosen is not because you're a perfect soldier, but because you're a good man, right? Whereas John Walker is chosen not because he's a good man, but because he's a perfect soldier.
And white.
And that creates this problems because now they want him to become Captain America, but he was never Steve Rogers to begin with. And so he by putting on the suit and trying to be something else, now he's got all these insecurities and all this doubt that gets amplified when he takes the serum and becomes lashing out violently. And so when I hear him say, "Do you know who I am?" that's a charged moment because he himself doesn't know who he is. When you know who you are, you don't have to go around puffing out your chest and demanding that people tell you who you are. So yeah, very important, poignant moment for him to lash out like that. And that's what I'm really enjoying about this show. It's a character study as much as it is an action series. And we're getting to see these characters interact in ways that we've never would have seen in a Marvel movie because there's just not enough time.
Yeah.
But we get to really dive into these characters. We're now almost 4 hours into these characters, and we're starting to unlock and unpack a lot of their philosophies and their insecurities, and seeing not only their philosophies and insecurities, but their commitment to either one of those. And it's almost Breaking Bad level of character study and interesting choices. And so I'm really enjoying it, and I hope that they don't try and give us a cheap twist in the final act to just try and bring it all to a close. I hope they continue this really high level of choice making and story writing. It
does feel like 2 episodes is not enough to wrap this up, right? We just saw a huge pivotal moment with John Walker. We're seeing Sharon Carter's story is not fully fledged. They haven't shown us who the power broker is. And Baron Zemo still seems like he has a lot of story to be told.
For sure.
2 episodes doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah. So
here's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go.
Go ahead.
So here's the thing, though. and I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well, but I definitely have noticed that these episodes are longer, which you don't just have to notice it. They're like 15 minutes longer than the WandaVision ones. But as I'm watching it, I can tell, I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of story in these episodes, and they're doing a lot more in a single episode than we were seeing in WandaVision. So yeah, I agree, Lance, that 2 episodes seems kind of crazy that that's all that's left, for multiple reasons. One, it's like, whoa, there's still a lot of story to be told. How is that going to be done over 2 episodes? And then the other is, why are there only 2 episodes left? I want to watch more of this. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely 2 sides of that. But ultimately, I'm sure they're going to be able to pull it off. I think they're doing a really good job of pacing the episodes and giving us a lot of information in each of them. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out. What were you going to say, Sam?
Yeah. So, I do kind of dabble in screenwriting from time to time. But there's this great book called Save the Cat, and it's a screenwriter's guide to writing screenplays. And it breaks every movie into 4 parts. Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, Act 2, Part 2, and Act 3. And each one of them has its own specific purpose and certain beats that have to take place in those moments or in those acts. But one of the things that's really interesting is there's one beat that's called the midpoint. And in drama or action, anything that's basically not a comedy or a romantic comedy, at the midpoint, someone always dies, which would be the end of episode 3. And at the end of episode 3, Danya Madani dies, right? And that leads us into the conflict that's going to end Act 2. So we're now at the point where we're ending Act 2, which is the bad guys closing in, and then all is lost. And then Act 2 ends with the Dark Night of the Soul. And what the Dark Night of the Soul is the moment where all our heroes have to take a look at themselves and decide if they have what it takes to get the job done. And so we're looking at that moment now with the end of episode 4, when we see John Walker standing in the crowd with a bloody shield, having just dispatched one of.
That was a jarring image, wasn't it?
That was a very
that was very jarring.
But contrast
cool, though.
Contrast that image with the end of Civil War, right? We only ever saw Steve Rogers use the shield like that one time, and it wasn't
on Tony.
and it was on Tony, and Tony puts his hands up like this because he thinks he's going for his face, but he takes the power cell out of the suit and it lets it power down. And
that shield has never killed an innocent, really. I mean, this guy is, I mean, yes, they've done bad things, but for the most part, this guy is like an innocent. So to see the blood of an innocent on that shield, a shield that at one point Captain America didn't even feel worthy enough to carry, right? We saw at the beginning of Infinity War where he has that different kind of shield. He doesn't even feel worthy enough to carry it.
Yeah.
You know, we call this bearded Captain America. And
he looks so good with a beard.
That shield is such an icon that, do you think this image of him brutally murdering this person on the steps in this country, and it was caught on video, we saw that, so I bet you that's going to come into play later. Do you think that it tarnishes in the views of the public in this universe that shield?
No, I don't think so.
I think what it does is there's not going to be a shield banning campaign, like if that's what you're talking about.
But is Captain America's name going to hold the same? So we know inevitably Falcon takes the shield back because we've seen costumes online.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen it at all yet, because we saw it in trailers. We saw Falcon with the shield in the trailers leading up to the show. So that means the trailers were showing us late episode footage.
Well, they did have that battle on early on with John Walker and Lamar Hoskins that took place on those trucks. And there was the shield got passed around a lot during that episode or during that scene.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch the trailers again. It might have been something like that, or it might have been that we've already seen the fight scene that was in the trailer, but it was cut differently for the trailer to throw people
Well, I remember
off.
the trailer they did show
That
scenes
happens a
from
lot
the
too.
movies too.
Yeah,
There is a
that's
scene where
true.
he throws it into a tree that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I thought there was a scene where Falcon holds the shield to like block bullets in the trailer. I don't know.
Well, he uses
But yeah,
he uses his wings to block bullets.
Yeah, he does. That's usually what he does.
At any rate, I think more important than the shield or Falcon's decision to take the shield is the solution as to what's the proper use of power.
Sure.
Right. That's the real question here. What's the proper use of power? Brick. And that's kind of the negotiation here, right? That's the debate that's taking place between all these main characters is, should we use our powers to further our own interests, to further other goals? Should we use it to kill people? There's all these different perspectives on the use of power and bias. And as we explore those biases, we find out what the motivations are, and maybe that it's just their particular use of force that we don't agree with, but their motivations we sympathize. So really enjoying these last couple episodes, and I'm looking forward to the resolution of those moral questions in episode 5. And then there's going to be that twist ending at the end of episode 5 going into episode 6. And I think they're going to reveal that Sharon Carter is the power broker.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, this episode 5 is definitely going to end in a cliffhanger. Going into
I think so. But
5 and 6 are the same episode, much like WandaVision was.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited next week to see the fallout from John Walker murdering somebody live, basically. Like, someone was live streaming that to their Instagram or Twitter or whatever social medias.
Do you think it got put on TikTok?
It might have. Someone's going to put it on
backing track
TikTok
on it?
with some music in the background. I don't know, but it's that was brutal. That was brutal, and I knew it was going to happen the minute. I mean, I wasn't sure that it was going to be videotaped like that. I say videotaped. I'm so old. Filmed, whatever. That's old too. Anyways, I knew that it was going to be recorded in some degree, but I didn't expect like in the town square. Like, I just figured he was going to chase this guy, and a few people were going to see him publicly murder somebody. And it turned out to be a much bigger deal than that. And that was just nuts. That was nuts. And I
think next episode we're going to see him stripped of the mantle.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the way to go. I feel like when you write out a show like this, you want it to go in the worst case scenario, which means that bad decisions are allowed to get worse. People who are power hungry are allowed to pursue power until they destroy themselves. And that's essentially what we're seeing in John Walker, is that in his pursuit of high-minded goals, he is driven by his insecurity at those goals to take more and more drastic measures. And he's eventually, no one's going to stop him. He's going to destroy himself. That's the way it goes for people like him.
Yeah. So I want to say something about what this show is doing for me that I really like. So when Steve originally gave Sam the shield at the end of Endgame, I was fine with it. I was like, okay, that's fine. I know that happens in the comics. I like Sam. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, but Bucky makes a lot more sense because Bucky is a super soldier. And so and he's Steve's best friend. And so I was like, yeah, it should have been Bucky, not Sam.
I think it's because Captain America knew that Bucky has those inner demons. He's probably not ready. I think eventually he does take up the mantle.
I was about to finish my thought.
Oh,
But
sorry.
that was basically where I was going with it, is that what the show is demonstrating to me is that Sam embodies the characteristics of Captain America more than Bucky does. Bucky has too many demons, like you put it, and he's got too many just issues to where he wouldn't be a good Captain America. He's way too headstrong. He's also very rash. He's not as bad as John Walker, obviously. He's still a good man at heart. But what we're seeing, and especially in this episode, Sam's intent was to go talk Carly down. I mean, Steve did similar things. He tried to talk Zemo down before officially going for a fight, and like, I mean, Steve definitely fought people as does Falcon, but I'm just liking that I think what they're doing a good job here is demonstrating that Sam does embody the characteristics of Captain America, and I really hope that by the end of the series he does take on the mantle. I know one of the concerns seems to be, at least based on the writing, that Sam is black, and that seems to be one of the hesitancies for him to take up the mantle. And I'm hoping that the series will overcome that issue and allow him to take up the mantle fully. But anyway, my point is, I think Sam is he's the right pick, and this show is demonstrating why.
But Max, about the fact that Falcon didn't take the shield because he's black, that was something that he decided for himself.
Sure.
No one told him.
I don't think that's why I think that may be the reason why the government never asked Falcon to take up the mantle. I don't think that's the reason the Falcon himself didn't take it up.
No, he said it in the discussion with the therapist. He says, I have a hard time taking up the shield that represents something that I'm not sure represents me. And that's the crux, right? That's his insecurity that he's exploring, right? That's one of the things that he's exploring. And the question was one of the questions he's going to have to answer throughout the remainder of this series is, how committed is he to that insecurity versus the morality of what the shield stands for?
I know in the comics this was part of the thread. I know that there was a portion of the issue was that Sam was black and the government didn't want a black Captain America. And in the comic, they overcome that. And so that's why I'm also thinking that the show is kind of going that direction as well, especially with some of the writing. I mean, again, we had Sarah talking about how America doesn't care about my world. And we know what she's really trying to say there. The show is leaning very heavily into that African American people are not treated fairly in the United States, whether or not you agree with that or not. Like, that's what that's one of the messages they're trying to get across. And that's how the character Sarah feels. Sarah is Sam's sister. Now, I don't agree with everything that my siblings agree with, but I think it's safe to assume that there are going to be some commonalities in thought in families because you're raised the same. Again, not entirely. Like, some of my siblings are on opposite political ends of the spectrum from me, but we still have other commonalities that we share. So I don't know. I wasn't trying to take it down a race thing. I just am noticing that that's one of the threads, and I'm hoping that by the end, Sam can overcome his insecurities and we can see him as Captain America, and that can be celebrated.
Yeah. I just feel like this episode is demonstrating the strength of the writing in this series.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic series. And you notice that once they left American soil, all of the kind of race baiting stuff went away. And that's like, okay, I get it. Like, the race thing is very prevalent in the US, but it's not a big deal. When he's the smiling tiger, and he's like, oh, I look like a pimp. And Zemo's like, well, only American would think that a fashion forward black man looks like a pimp. And it's like, man, they're really taking it to us. They're really giving it to the Americans right now, man. But it's a fascinating take.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing these final two episodes.
I almost stayed up until midnight to watch it last time, but around 11:30, I was just like, I'm tired, and I have to wake up in the morning at work at 6:30, so I went to bed.
I'm more so excited for it to be done to finally get into Loki. But
I'm not even that excited for Loki.
dude, the
Really?
trailer looks
I mean, I'm a
awesome.
little excited. The trailer looked cool, but I don't know. I'm just
think
liking this a
Loki-
lot. I'm
I think
disappointed
Loki-
because next week I'm going to be on my vacation, and I don't really know that I want to watch this latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier on my phone. So I'm going to have to wait until I get home so I can actually watch it on my TV.
Yeah, I'm really sinking
Just
my
bring a
teeth into
Chromecast
this
with you.
episode or
Yeah, I
this
could.
series.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, it's a very good series.
Yeah. It's good enough
let's
that I'm
get-
pretty sure I came on at 20 minutes. We're now at an hour and 20. That's how long we've been talking about this episode.
Well, let's give our ratings. You guys ready to do that?
Yeah.
Max, let's start with you. What would you give this episode? And then I want your episode review, and then I want your review at total 4 episodes so far.
Oh man, that's hard. Okay. No, I guess that's not that hard. I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5 and a throw pillow. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do the throw pillow or not. Last week I gave it a 4, and I did significantly like this episode more. It was just fantastic. It opened perfectly with Bucky and that emotional scene, and then it just kept up. The momentum kept up. We got more backstory on Carly. She's a very interesting villain. The Marvel's doing a good job at making their villains relatable. I mean, even Thanos, people understood his motivation. And this show is even showing us that what Thanos did brought good into the world, that now the new villain is trying to basically bring back. Like, she liked what Thanos did so much, she's trying to bring it back. Just interesting. But I'm at 4.5 for this episode. I think the series as a whole right now, 3.5 out of the last 4 episodes.
Sam, what about you?
Well, you're stealing my thunder, Max. But yeah, 4.5, four couch cushions and a throw pillow on this episode. Like, this is riveting television. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I mean, the best hour of TV I've ever seen was an
Breaking Bad
episode called Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul
Yeah.
episode.
They are good. That's
in
good stuff.
season 5 called Bad Choice Road. And it was so good. And I would give that one a 5. This is really, really close to that kind of level writing where you're looking at characters making interesting choices, making unexpected choices. Like the Winter Soldier openly telling Zemo that the Wakandans were after him when he didn't have to do that. He may have had an ulterior motive, but it didn't spell it out that he had some kind of other motive other than making sure that his team trusted him. And there were a lot of choices that were really kind of forecast or broadcast early, like John Walker taking the serum. Eventually, as soon as he picked it up, you knew he was going to do it. But
I thought he was going to drink it right then and there.
Yeah, almost. But he wanted to check in with Lamar, who's his kind of his moral compass. And then when he loses Lamar, he loses his moral compass. And I think we're going to see him take a much darker turn. And he's going to be a dog without a chain, essentially, for the next episode. And maybe he'll get reined in by the end of episode 5 if he's not killed. But it's going to be really fascinating television. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope that it continues at this level. It's very, very good. Before this episode, I would have given the series as a whole a 3.5, but with this one, it's going to push it up to a 5 or a 4.
Wow. Very high praise.
Yeah. So I'm torn because WandaVision was from start to finish, and I know Tyler disagrees with those first 2 episodes, but WandaVision was just spectacular. Like, even the low episodes, I think, were very good. Okay. They were just low because everything else was so elevated. So it's hard for me to give it as high, because I think WandaVision, I gave a couple of those episodes a 5 out of 5. And I
Yeah.
believe it was deserved. So I think I kind of backed myself into a hole a little bit, because I don't think this episode was as good as the best episode in WandaVision, even though it was very good. So I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I do think that it has the potential to really amp up the storytelling in these final 2 episodes. And I want to see, I'm really excited to see how it, Mike from Grizzle Geeks on.
Yeah,
He
his
says
comment's
decorated
funny.
war veteran kills terrorist during an ambush that saw his partner killed. Oops,
There were cameras.
The series as a whole, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. This episode of 4. But like I said, I'm very excited to see what the future, the two upcoming episodes have for us, because I do think that it can exceed my expectations. But so far, the rewatchability, I guess you could say, I found myself watching WandaVision twice before we even filmed our show, where we were going to talk about it, just so I could pick up on all these little Easter eggs and stuff. And I haven't been, that same eagerness to watch it again hasn't been there that existed with WandaVision.
Well, Lance, I hate to say it, but that's probably a character flaw on your part.
I was wowed by WandaVision. Like, I just thought
Sure.
some of the, and I think Elizabeth Olsen is a fantastic actress, and I don't know if anybody in this show quite is at the status of Elizabeth Olsen. It has nothing to do with her looks or anything, just pure acting ability, as well as who plays the Vision? What's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, thank you. Paul Bettany, I think, is a fantastic actor that's theater trained and everything. I don't think anybody in this show has that kind of status that those two have. And the story was just so different with WandaVision. It was just such a unique take. Even though half the episodes, they were redoing things that were done 40, 50 years ago. But it was just so unique that I haven't really saw how this show is as unique as that show. Like, yes, this episode takes some interesting story choices and things like that, and character development and things, very interesting stuff, but nothing that was as groundbreaking as some of the things WandaVision did. With the fake television show and all these things, and just having you like just guessing at the end of every episode, what does this mean? It just hasn't done that for me yet. I'm hoping that Loki does that, because Loki seems to have the potential to be that genre bending show that every episode's going to end with like a question mark.
Let me ask you something, Lance. Do you enjoy Breaking Bad? Do you enjoy Better Call Saul? Do you enjoy those types of long character studies?
I do. I love those shows. Not as much as you love those shows, but I think Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad are some of the best television that's been made in the last 20 years, 30 years even. Not to the extent that you like it. I think you have an emotional connection to Better Call Saul, being that you practice law. So I think that maybe seeing like you have a deeper connection to it than I do. But I do love those kind of shows. It's just Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I have
That's why I like Super Size Me so much. It just really resonates.
But Better Call Saul, I have a hard time putting this show on par with Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Like I just think those are better at telling a similar story, or a similar way of telling a story and fitting in that same genre.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at WandaVision, it's like a new flavor, right? Mm-hmm. It's a new flavor of ice cream. It hits you with something new, something unexpected. But is it better? Is it really better? And there were a lot of good moments in WandaVision, but I feel like ultimately it petered out at the end. And it didn't deliver on a lot of the hype. It didn't deliver on a lot of the things that the show within itself, not even the hype around the show, but the show within itself, it didn't even deliver on the things that they had set up in the show. And it was a good show. But this episode makes me think, what if Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould were writing a Marvel show? Would it be that much better than this episode? And I don't know that it would be. This was really, really interesting for me to watch as the characters are debating with each other about what's the right way to deal with the world that they have. They all have the same problem, right? They all have to deal with this super serum. They all have to deal with the border crisis and with, the government taking things away from them. They all have the same problems. All of them. All the main characters have the same problems. And they're each approaching it from a different point and taking a different choice. And it's fascinating. And so to have these debates that are also kind of punctuated with the action and, these really dark moments is really, really, it's really fascinating television. And it's different. It's very different from WandaVision. I give you that. But I really enjoy it. And I think maybe on a second watch, you might feel differently. But I'm planning on watching it again tonight because I do feel after discussing it with you two, I do feel there were things that I missed because maybe I wasn't giving it my full attention. So I am going to give it another watch.
It's far and away the best episode of the series so far.
But I do feel like everything that's happened so far, well, not everything, but like just the way that it's telling its story and the way that it's shot and the type of show we're getting was all kind of expected, right? There hasn't been anything, and whereas WandaVision was just so different than everything we've seen in the last, how long has Marvel been, MCU been going? 12 years now. 2008.
I don't know. This has given me a lot of things I wasn't expecting. Definitely not so much as WandaVision. But
I was expecting Zemo to be a villain, right? A one-note villain. I was expecting Sharon Carter to be, like the Charlie's Angels coming in and saving them when they need it, right? And everything that I thought looking at the trailers has been turned on its head.
And I just don't feel that way.
It started with Zemo bebopping in the club, right? But it totally has thrown me for a loop. I did not expect to be.
They did an article about that. That was completely like unscripted. Like they filmed them.
Well, in the show, they only did like 2 seconds, right? In the show, they only did 2 seconds, and then they released the 27 seconds that they had cut for that particular scene. And but what I'm saying is, I did not expect to be as charmed by Zemo as I am. I did not expect.
You're right.
I did not expect to both sympathize and loathe John Walker as much as I do. Like I feel both sides of his debate. Like he's at war with himself, and I feel both sides of who he is. And Sam and Bucky are like trying to decide first what's the most important thing for them to do, and then how to approach it. And eventually they're gonna come at each other, right? They're gonna have to debate each other. They're gonna have to finish what they started with a therapist. And they're going to have to answer those questions. And when you get to that moment, it's going to be as high of television writing, I hope, fingers crossed. It's going to be as good as any television that Marvel has produced so far, if not better.
We'll see. WandaVision was just so out of left field. And Mike is absolutely right from the Grizzled Geek. This show was supposed to come out first originally, and then WandaVision, and then Loki. But coronavirus kind of shifted everything around. So maybe I would have felt different having not seen that first one. I just think WandaVision just touched a nerve for me that I didn't know it was going to hit. Just that quizzical, every week, like what's going to happen next? You know what I mean? Like I want to figure out all these puzzles. It's kind of the same feeling I got watching shows like Lost and stuff back when those shows weren't so overdone. But I remember those first couple seasons of Lost, like you watch an episode and you're like, what did I just see? Like, what is happening? I don't have as many of those questions watching this. And I like that feeling of anticipation. Like I'm going to have questions answered. And yes, there are questions in this one. I'm just not getting as many of them as WandaVision. And then WandaVision just had so many. And you're right. The last 2 episodes, like it definitely petered out, right? I'm hoping this one doesn't do that. But with the Evan Peters thing, and like it just had so many things in it that were just like, holy crap, I can't believe they did that. I think it's just a difference in opinion. It's just, we'll see what next week I'll report on if the second viewing changes. But you got to remember, I gave this episode a 4 out of 5, so it's still very good. It's just I gave episode 4 or 5 of WandaVision a 5 out of 5, and I just don't know if it's quite at that point.
I'm going you definitely committed to that.
I'm going to make a public plea with Mike from the Grizzled Geek. Max will not be on the show next week, correct, Max?
Correct.
Next 2 weeks.
So next 2 weeks.
This week. Just next week.
Just next week.
I wasn't going to be on this week, but I got the kiddo down early, so.
Nice.
Mike, you should come on to talk episode 5 with us. Please do it. Sam, what do you think of that plan? Mike coming on to talk episode 5 with us?
That seems like a very interesting choice. I'd love to see how it plays out.
It's an interesting choice, Cotton.
So there's a couple things. Did you guys see? Yeah, Mike says he's down. Yay. I love when Mike comes on. 3 of my favorite people, Mike, Matt, and Travis. I love when any of those 3 guys come on.
They're always great.
Real quick before we call it a night, did you guys see
Powerpuff Girls? Are you talking Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out why they're doing this. Even though, okay, they got Daisy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the most beautiful
Chloe Bennett. They
got Dove Cameron, who is also one of the most beautiful women on the planet. I don't know the other one. So
they got my boy Donald Faison in it. That's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah, he's playing the professor.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out why.
Yeah, what are we?
This is the CW, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem like a show CW would try to I don't know.
The photos from the set have them wearing their classic costumes, right? The knee highs and the short skirts, very, very 70s-esque looking outfits. And it's like,
I bet that's like a
what are we doing?
A joke, like a
what
joke
are we
scene.
doing?
I don't know. But do you know it's a direct continuation from the like this isn't a reboot or anything. Like the cartoon is canon for this.
Right. They're supposed to be grown. So are we going to see the evil monkey, right? Are we going to see
Mojo?
Yeah.
Was his
Mojo.
name? Or Mojo Joe? Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
Mojo Jojo.
You're more familiar than I. I've literally never seen any powder.
Oh, I just watched this
Powerpuff.
Powerpuff.
I've literally.
I just watched this with my daughter like 2 days ago. The cartoon, because HBO Max has it all. Question: it's a direct continuation. This is nothing against Donald Faison. The professor was white in the cartoon, so how is it a direct continuation? Like reverse Michael Jackson that. I don't know. I don't care one way or another. I think Donald Faison is fantastic. but I was just kind of laughing at that.
Well, Chloe Bennett's Asian. Was one of the Powerpuff Girls Asian in that one?
No, she was a redhead.
So there you go. They're just
guess so.
consistent.
You know what? You put Chloe Bennett in anything, and I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, you're not going to question it. I get it. She's beautiful.
Well, Dove Cameron too. Dove Cameron is a knockout. You remember her from? She was also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember her. I hated her character. She was so unlikable, but she's a very pretty woman.
So the other thing, because I don't think we talked about it. We talked about it briefly in this episode. I don't know if we talked about it in a previous episode, but I want to bring up that Loki trailer. Max seems to not be that excited about it. Sam,
no. I said the trailer looks fantastic.
But you said you're not that excited about the show.
I'm not like uninterested. I'm going to watch it, but I'm not like dying for June 11th to come out or whatever it is when it comes out. I think it's June 11th. The trailer looks fantastic.
I thought there was like a 2-week break. It's not coming out.
No, there's 6 weeks.
June 11.
There's 6 weeks between these.
That sucks.
It's okay. You've got the Bad Batch to tie you over.
What's that?
So Star Wars cartoon that you're not going to watch.
Jeez. Who even freaking cares about Star Wars?
I'm going to watch it. Oh, hell
Did you say they released a bunch of
So
Star Wars vintage?
Yeah, they're releasing some of the old stuff.
So that cartoon with Boba Fett in Chewbacca, that's from the middle of the Christmas special, isn't it?
I don't know.
And the Disney Plus put it out by itself.
Maybe.
Yeah,
the
Boba
you might
Fett,
be right.
It's like it was like a break, and Mike would know. I hope he's still watching. He can tune in. I believe that was in the middle of the Christmas special, but they took that out and just released that segment. But Loki, back to Loki. I'm really excited about the show because I think it has another opportunity to be very different than anything we've seen before. Kind of jumping through realities and seeing. This is directly going to show us. Yep, Mike says I'm right. See, the non-Star Wars fan knew that.
Wow.
I know. Not Mr. Star Wars over here. Look, guys, I pointed in the right direction.
Good job.
You did it. Good job.
Camlesh wants to ask something. Go ahead, Camlesh. But did I not say that right?
No. I'm just like, I wanted to ask something. Okay, we'll ask. Well, let's see. Let's hope it's PG-13 at least.
I think Loki has the opportunity to just be very different. And
dude, absolutely.
It's going to be, besides Spider-Man Far From Home, it's going to be the first show to really show us like the consequences of stuff that happened in Endgame, right? Because this is a new timeline where Loki picks up that block and splinters off a timeline, and it's introducing a whole new like Time Force agency from the comics. I can't remember their name for is it Time Force?
I don't
know. Every time I see, all I can think is, wow.
I'm very excited for it.
I am really interested to see how Loki does Quantum Leap.
Right, that's exactly the vibe I got. I'm hoping it's like Scott Bakula, Quantum Leap. Scott Bakula, right?
Yeah, Scott Bakula is Quantum Leap. Time Variance Authority, TVA.
Thanks, Mike. Kamlesh, I'm not sure about that.
So let's read his question.
I saw goldish yellow color in the eye of Hoskins as soon as he gets free from the Flag Smashers. Can you review it? Because nobody is giving a shit about it. I thought for a second he was on Super Serum too.
Well, whether he was or not, he's dead now.
Well, do we really know if
he could be alive? Dead? We don't know for sure.
Because that slam into the pillar doesn't look like it should kill him. I mean, he was wearing
what? That would definitely kill him.
I
think it was hit by a car.
I've seen Falcon, who is not on super soldier serum, get thrown into things and fighting monsters and stuff. Like, this guy's a soldier too, not a super soldier.
like
Maybe
getting
we
hit
don't
by a
know,
car,
but
man. It's like getting hit by a car.
I've seen
It could
way
definitely
worse
kill you.
things happen to
It
regular
could
people.
definitely kill you.
I don't know. Kamlesh, we're tune in next week. Well, I'm gonna give this a second watch and then we'll talk more about it. But I did not get the vibe that he was on the super soldier serum, specifically because of that conversation that John Walker has with
They had
him
one
in
vial.
the diner, where he asks him, "Would you take it?" And he
Yeah, I'm
says
gonna
yes,
have to-
like so eagerly that
I'm gonna have to check that myself.
yeah. I mean, is it possible that John Walker slipped him, like roofied him with super soldier serum? I don't know. I don't know, buddy. We're gonna talk about that one next week. We'll see what happens next week. But very good point. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's nothing really happening news-wise. Would you say, Max?
Yeah, nothing going on.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday night. Please check us. I can't concentrate with you guys doing that. Check us out every.
We keep doing the Zemo dance, Sam and I. Like all episode, we keep doing
Check us out every Friday right here on YouTube, 7:00 Mountain Standard Time. We are the Couch Crunchers. So until next time, keep on geeking on.